Howdy, hi, and hello. Welcome back. Come on, sit in. Come take a seat. Join me in my living room or in my... nope, you're not allowed in my bedroom. Not this time. We haven't really fully known each other yet. Yes, you haven't been my home for a while, but take me to dinner first. Welcome back to Noah's Nest, my humble abode. This is where I, Noah, will invite you in, getting all comfy and cozy, allowing you to hear me talk and explain D&D and the D&D classes. This week, we're going to be discussing the monk. This is the class where you're taking in magical energy and releasing it through key points, or different key, where along the sides of being one with the energy around you and dispersing it how you deem. As usual, I will go through the different levels, 1 through 20, and then we'll go into the different subclasses or the the different traditions of the monk. Okay. Firstly, you get unarmored... Jeez, I can't speak today. Firstly, you get unarmored defense. This is where if you don't wear any armor and you're not wielding a shield, your AC becomes 10, plus your dexterity modifier, plus your wisdom modifier. Along with first level, you get martial arts. This is where you gain benefits through your unarmed strike, or if you are wielding a monk weapon and you aren't wearing any armor or shields. You gain these benefits where you can use dexterity instead of strength for attacks and damage rolls for your unarmed strikes and your weapons. Instead of 1 plus your strength modifier, you can roll a d4 for your unarmed strikes, and the dice will go up through the different as you level up. And lastly, whenever you punch or an unarmed strike on your attack action, you can make an additional one as a bonus action. At second level, you get ki. This is where you are allowed to harness the weird energy and release it in different ways. There are different things that you can get, but the first 3 that you get are Fury of Blows, where you can spend 1 key point to make 2 additional unarmed strikes as a bonus action. You could use Patient Defense, where you can use a key point to take the dodge action as a bonus action on your turn, or Step of the Wind. This is where you can take 1 key point to disengage or dash as a bonus action on your turn. Along at second level, you get unarmored movement. This is where, while you're not wearing armor or wielding a shield, you increase your speed, and your speed increases throughout your levels. At third level, you get your tradition, but we'll dive into that in a little bit. Along with third level, you get deflect missiles. This is where if you would be hit by a missile or a ranged weapon attack, you can use your reaction to reduce the damage. And if you would reduce the damage to 0, you can use your key point to throw it back at them. So let's just say if someone shot an arrow at you and you would reduce the damage past to 0, you could catch it and throw it right back. At 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th, you get your ability score improvement. This is where you can increase 1 ability score by 2, or increase 2 ability scores by 1, or if you're feeling a little bit spicy today, you can take a feat. At 4th level, you get Slow Fall. This is where you can use your reaction to reduce any falling damage by an amount equal to 5 times your monk level. So, at 4th level, it would be 20. At 5th, you get extra attack, where you can take an additional attack if you take the attack action on your turn. Along with 5th level, you get Stunning Strike. This is where if you would hit a creature with your unarmed strike or a melee weapon, you can spend a key point to attempt to stun the enemy, where they would have to make a saving throw. At 6th level, they get Key Empowered Strikes. This is where whenever you would use your unarmed strike, it overcomes any resistances and immunities to non-magical attacks. At 7th level, you get Evasion. This is where any area-based spell attacks that make you make a dexterity saving throw, if you would fail the saving throw, you would only take half damage, and if you would succeed, you would take no damage. Stillness at 7th level is Stillness of Mind. This is where you can use your action to end the charm or frightened condition on yourself. At 9th level, you get Unarmored Movement Improvement. This is where you can move along vertical surfaces or even across liquids without falling while you move. At 10th, you get Purity of Body. You are now immune to disease and poisons. At 13th level, you get Tongue of the Sun and Moon. This is where you are now able to understand all spoken languages, and any creature that you can understand a language can understand what you say as well. At 14th level, you get Diamond Soul. This is where you get proficiency in all your saving throws, and if you would fail a saving throw, you can spend a key point to re-roll it, but you have to take the second result. At 15th, you get Timeless Body. You can't suffer from old age, and you can't be aged magically anymore. You can still die from old age, but you won't die from any magical means of that. And you no longer need food or water. At 18th, if you spend 4 key points, you become invisible, and while you're invisible, you are resistant to all damage but force damage. Also, if you spend 8 key points, you can cast Astral Projection without needing any material components. And lastly, at level 20, you get Perfect Self. This is when if you roll initiative and have no more key points, you regain 4 back. Now onto the optional class features. At 2nd level, you get Dedicated Weapon. So this is where after you finish a long or short rest, you can touch a weapon and focus your ki on it. After you focus on it, it would count as a monk weapon until you would use this feature again. The weapon has to be a simple or martial weapon. You have to be proficient in it, and it can't have the heavy or special properties of it to become a monk weapon. At 3rd level, you get Ki Fueled Attacks. This is where if you would spend a key point as an action on your turn, you can make 1 attack with an unarmed strike or monk weapon as a bonus action before the end of the turn. At 4th level, you get Quickened Healing. This is where you can spend 2 key points to roll your unarmed martial die and regain that number of hit points equal to whatever you rolled plus your proficiency bonus. And lastly, you get Focused Aim at 5th level. This is where you can spend 1 to 3 key points to your attack roll by 2 of each key point. So let's say you want to spend 2, you would get 4. You get +4 for your attack roll, hopefully turning that miss into a hit. Now on to the different traditions or subclasses. First one up is Way of Mercy. This is where you are letting your allies have mercy, but maybe making your enemies beg for it. This is where you gain proficiencies in different skills and different kits. You can use key points to heal or use key points to deal damage. You can end different effects, different conditions like blinded or paralyzed or poison or more. You can, instead of using key points to heal or hinder, whenever you use Fury of Blows, you can just cause them to be healing or harming. Or you can make a corpse come back alive that has died within the past 24 hours and gain hit points equal to an amount. Next is Way of Shadows. This is where you are more stealthy or subterfuge. You'd be more of a ninja or assassin-esque, where you are following the shadows and being more evil-esque. So you can spend key points to cast different spells or gain different cantrips. You could teleport through the shadows and have advantage on your attack. You could become invisible if you enter a dim lit or a dark area, or if you are in 5 feet of an enemy that attacks someone else, you can just punch them as an opportunity attack. Next is the Way of the Ascendant Dragon. This is where you are focusing on the different dragons, and you have become part draconic follower. You could, whenever you take an unarmed strike, you can imbue it with a type of damage like acid, fire, lightning, or you can re-roll rolls that could tap into different dragons. Or you can even learn Draconic. You could use key points to breathe a type of dragon breath that could be cold, fire, acid, lightning, or poison. You can gain a flight speed for an expended amount of time. You can use your bonus action to make enemies become frightened of you, or you would gain resistance to a type of damage along with your allies. Or you can gain blind sight, where you can see invisible creatures unless they successfully hide from you. You can cause an explosion of fury, where you can deal a type of damage, or you can extend your breath attack even farther and deal more damage. Next is the Way of the Astral Self. This is where you believe your body is part illusion, but you kind of made it into a more physical part of you. You take energy from the astral realm, and it helps you protect the weak and serves the mighty. You could gain arms of the astral self. This is where you can summon extra fists to punch more times, to deal more unarmed strikes, or you can use your wisdom modifier instead of dexterity or strength. You could spend key points to have advantage on different checks, or being able to see through darkness, or be able to amplify your voice. Also, you could change your type of ancestral, or you're able to change the different types of astral punching or reactions. You can deal extra damage through your arms, or you can even use up to 5 key points to gain a higher armor class or deal an even more amount of damage by attacking more through your astral fists. Next is Way of the Cobalt Soul. This is created by Critical Role Team, and this is where you are seeking knowledge, you are finding and unveiling the different mysteries of life, bringing light to the different secrets of the evil that has been concealed. You are pretty much finding all of the truths. This is where you can use your Fury of Blows. Whenever you hit an attack, you can understand the different vulnerabilities or resistances that your enemy may have. You can spend a key point to make a charisma saving throw. This is where people won't be able to lie to you. You'll have advantage. They can avoid the answer, but they won't be able to lie deliberately. You'll be able to gain skills and gain more languages, and that'll happen a couple more times at 11th and 17th level. You could use another key point to make an additional reaction, or you're even able to use 3 key points to make one of your strikes become vulnerable, so dealing double damage, or you can even cause their resistance to be suppressed if you would spend these 3 key points. Next is the Way of the Drunken Master. This is where your unpredictable movements of your drunkenness have helped you cause frustration from the enemies. This is where your performance, you can gain your proficiency with it, and you'll gain proficiency in brewing supplies. You can use the disengage action and move your speed, and it will increase. You can cause, if you would fall prone, you could stand up with less of your speed. You can use your key point to hit someone if someone misses you that is within 5 feet of you. You can cause, if you would spend 2 key points, you can cancel a disadvantage from a saving throw that you would have to make, or if you are surrounded, if you are overwhelmed by a bunch of enemies, you can make 3 additional attacks when you use your Fury of Blows. Next is Way of the 4 Elements. Think of the Avatar from The Last Airbender, where you can use the different elements, air, fire, earth, water, to either cast different spells or do different abilities depending on your level. So you could be able to cast different spells, deal more damage through the different disciplines that you can choose from. You could cast Thunder Wave, Fireball, Fly, and as you level up, you can get more of these, or you can get the ones that require a certain level. Next is the Way of the Kensai. This is where you are focusing on your different weapons instead of your fists. You'll be able to choose a melee weapon or a ranged weapon and they become monk weapons, but they would have to be a simple or martial weapon, and they would have to lack the heavy or special properties. You can use your unarmed strike on your attack action, and if you're holding the weapon, you would gain a higher AC, or you can deal extra damage through these different weapons. At higher levels, you'll be able to overcome resistances and immunities, or you can spend additional key points to deal more damage through these weapons. You'll also be able to choose more weapons as you level up. Instead of just 2, you could use 3, 4, 5, so you're not just stuck to the normal 2 weapon only. You could also use up to 3 key points to deal a bonus to attacks or damage. If you would miss an attack on your monk weapon, you could re-roll it or gain even more Kensai monk weapons. Next is Way of the Long Death. This is where you're obsessed with dying. You're obsessed with people dying, finding different meanings of how people have died, and gaining more knowledge through that fighting style. Firstly is Touch of Death. Let me redo that part. You could gain temporary hit points if you would fall to 0 hit points. You can cause people to become frightened of you. You could use a key point. If you would fall to 0 hit points, you can use 1 key point to come back to 1 instead. Or you can even touch a creature and expend 1 to 10 key points to deal 2d10 necrotic damage per key point if they would fail a saving throw, and half if they would succeed. Next is Way of the Open Hand. This is where you are kind of focusing on your unarmed strikes, where you can now use, if you would use your Fury of Blows key, the enemy would have to make a dexterity saving throw or become prone. They can be pushed back further away. They wouldn't be able to use reactions. You can use your action to regain hit points. You can gain the effects of Sanctuary after a long rest. Or you can use up to 3 key points. Lastly, whenever you would attack someone and hit, you can spend 3 of your key points to cause them to have vibrations all throughout their body, and you can make them have to make a Constitution saving throw or take 10d10 necrotic damage. And last but certainly not least is Way of the Sun Soul. This is where you are channeling the light energy and unlocking it and unleashing it through different creatures. You could gain radiant damage whenever you would use the attack action, and it would increase as you level up as well. You could spend key points to cast certain spells as bonus actions or cast them at higher levels. You could cause a explosion of radiant light, dealing damage if they would fail a saving throw, and you can spend up to 3 key points to deal even more damage. And lastly, you could use your reaction to deal radiant damage, along with shedding bright light from you as well. All in all, the monk is very, very good with fucking over the DM. They have a lot of ways to use key points to stop certain attacks or to stop enemies from using anything. A lot of the different subclasses are very, very versatile in their own way, from being able to teleport through the shadows, to hear their allies, to punch more times, to use more weapons, or to even hurt enemies a lot more. The main argument about this class is that they don't deal a lot of damage, but I think they're more versatile with just instead of focusing on how much damage they deal, focus on what else that they can do. They can stun enemies, they can figure out they can figure out the enemy's weaknesses or vulnerabilities or defenses. They can cause fear or end fear or different conditions. They're great if you want to try them out. It might be a little bit confusing based on key points, but they are very, very useful in any campaign in my opinion. I would rate it a solid 8.5 because yes, they are very, very powerful, but they can be a bit confusing if you are more new to this class. So, thank you all for listening. I enjoy your company every single time that I see you all here. Gotta do a couple shoutouts before we end this beautiful thing. You can stay as long as you like. Just enjoy yourself. Firstly is Hope K Thrifts. She resells trendy brands and focuses on sustaining the environment in cheap and fashionable ways. Those trendy brands can be from Free People, Converse, Lululemon, Nike, and so much more. And as you know, all of these brands are very, very expensive, but everything that she sells is only $20 or less, so you're already getting a huge steal. You can find her at Poshmark, Depop, Mercari, Instagram, all at Hope K Thrifts. And here's something special for y'all. If you message her at code CHEAPTHRIFTS, you can get 10% off on your next purchase. So that's even more of a discount. What a steal. Go buy from her. Next up is Cody, aka Killer Mimic Merch. He's making a killing. He's doing great shit. He's making beautiful, amazing designs for y'all. He has 2 designs out right now. I think only 1 actually. But as time goes on, he is able to create more designs for y'all. He doesn't just focus on D&D, he just focuses on fantasy. So instead of just dragons or beholders or Dungeons and Dragons, he makes more fantasy-based designs. And it is amazing in my opinion. Go check him out at Killer Mimic Merch on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all the shit. And lastly, but hopefully not least, it's Creatures and Cantrips. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok even, at Creatures and Cantrips. Like, share, follow, subscribe, do whatever. You're always welcomed here. We love you all. We truly do. We thank you. We hope you all have an amazing day. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for entering. You didn't make a mess. I am proud of you. I love you all. Have a good night. Sleep tight. As usual, goodbye. Adios. Don't let bed bugs bite. Later. Peace. This is too much. See you guys.